Imagine two people who were born and raised in the same city, started working the same year, earned similar salaries, and lived comparable lives, both retiring at 65. One enjoys retirement in peace, while the other has to calculate their budget every single month. The difference between them isn't luck, inheritance, or talent. It's just a few things nobody ever told them. Of course, families teach their children many things about life: how to treat other people, how to be an individual, how to read, how to choose a career, and much more. But they don't teach how money works, how wealth is built, or which decisions slowly pull you backward. In fact, nobody around you explains these things. And the interesting part is that the absence of these conversations is no accident. Talking about money is still considered inappropriate in many cultures. Isn't that interesting? People raised to be polite don't talk about their earnings, their savings, or their investments. And this silence is the most expensive habit passed down from generation to generation. I'm Sammy. On this channel, I share things your own family doesn't know or wouldn't tell you. You're no longer alone. Your Uncle Sammy is always with you. If you want to keep learning about financial topics and financial literacy that nobody has ever told you, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If you're ready, let's begin. In this video, I'm going to draw the real map of wealth, the kind that takes years to build. You'll learn the one and only thing you need to do in your 20s, the biggest trap of your 30 seconds, the critical move most people get wrong in their 40 seconds, when income reaches its peak, how it's possible to take serious steps in your 50 seconds without panicking, and the single retirement-ruining mistake most people make in their 60s without even realizing it, all with real numbers, real calculations, and some things you may have never heard before. Let me warn you in advance, this video might make you uncomfortable, because some points will make you say, "Why did nobody tell me this before?" Your 20 seconds, the period the system designed to keep you poor. If you feel poor in your 20s, I want to point out that this has nothing to do with your failure. In truth, it's the deliberate result of how this period was designed. Rent, a car, student loans, insurance, they all come knocking at once, and your salary may not be quite enough to comfortably cover all of them. It's designed that way. Looking at the system, the education system keeps you in school until you're 22 or 23, and gets you to graduate in debt. Student loans. Credit card companies set up stands on campus. Car companies sell the dream of a car with low monthly installments. And while you're trying to deal with all of this, saving and investing become the very last things on your mind. This is not an accident, it's a design. But here's what nobody tells you. The money you invest in your 20 seconds is more valuable than all the money you'll invest for the rest of your life. I'm not saying this to create an emotional impact. I'm saying it because it's pure mathematics. $1 invested at age 25, with an average annual growth of 8%, becomes $21.72 by age 65. That same dollar invested at age 45 becomes only $4.66. Look, it's the same money, but there's a 4 times difference, and it comes from time alone. Let me say this once more, because the brain can't absorb it the first time around. Starting 20 years earlier turns the same money into 4 times as much, without working more, without making smarter decisions, just by starting earlier. Let me make this math even more concrete. Someone who starts working at 22 and invests $200 a month, continuing until age 65, at an average annual return of 8%, will have approximately $1.1 million in their account. The total amount they actually invested, $103,200. Do you see the difference? The entire remaining million comes from time. This miracle called compound interest is one of the most powerful financial tools ever discovered in human history. So what should you do in your 20 seconds? Let me explain step by step. Step 1. Avoid high-interest debt. Credit card interest runs between 20% and 25%. The long-term average return of the market is 8% to 10%. Do the math yourself. Trying to invest while carrying debt is like taking 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. If you pay your credit card in full every month, there's no problem. It's a tool. But if you're carrying a balance, that tool is working against you. Step 2. Automate money before you see it. Don't trust yourself to send a portion of your money to investments, because human psychology doesn't allow for that. Have the money automatically transferred to your investment account before your paycheck even hits your checking account. That way, even if you spend every dollar in your account, nothing goes wrong. If your employer offers contribution matching, this is one of the rarest guaranteed profits in the world. If your employer puts in $1 for every dollar you contribute, that's a 100% instant return. Not using this is financial stupidity. I'm sorry, but I can't find another word for it. Step 3. Take advantage of tax-advantaged accounts. In many countries, there are tax-advantaged retirement accounts specifically for young people. Using the opportunity these accounts offer while you're currently in a low tax bracket is absolutely critical, because in retirement, you'll be in a higher tax bracket. Paying lower taxes while you're young is one of the least talked about but most powerful tools for building wealth. Tax isn't paid today, it's paid after the money has grown, and the tax paid after it's grown can be far heavier than what you'd pay today. Your 20s target, by the time you turn 30, your investment accounts should hold 1 to 2 times your annual income. If average income is around $55,000, that means you'll want $55,000 to $110,000. Most people who hear this, and maybe you too, immediately think impossible. But once you set up the automation and redirect 30% of every raise toward investments, you'll find this figure is far more achievable than you thought. Now, you might be thinking, "Oh, Uncle Sammy, I'm already struggling to make ends meet. How is this supposed to work?" I understand you. But know this, you can start with 10%. And every time you get a raise, increase that by 1 percentage point. Let the money that didn't exist before the raise go directly to investments before it ever enters your spending habits. The brain doesn't miss money it never had. Use this psychological truth to your advantage. Your 30 seconds, the trap set by the feeling of success. By the time you reach your 30 seconds, you'll feel real income growth. And this is precisely where the most dangerous trap is set. This trap is called lifestyle inflation. It's called inflation, but what it feels like is success. You got a raise, you've earned a better car, you got a promotion, you've earned a bigger house, a bonus came in, vacations, electronics, restaurants. Every expenditure on its own seems reasonable, but when you look at the sum total, you see this. Your income increased, but the gap, the bridge to wealth, never widened. The insidious part of this trap is that it makes you feel successful. As you spend, you say, "I'm enjoying life," and everyone around you is doing the same thing. As your social circle moves up, your spending standards rise along with them. A modest apartment was fine at 28, but at 34, being in that neighborhood starts to matter. This isn't a need, it's social positioning, and the cost of that positioning is quietly being deducted from your wealth. According to Federal Reserve data, the median net worth of Americans under 35 is between $15,000 and $20,000. That's the result produced by average behavior. What most people fail to realize is that earning more will not grow your wealth. Directing a larger percentage of what you earn toward investments is always the greatest advantage. First critical milestone in your 30s. By age 40, you should have accumulated 3 times your annual income in investments. Average income in your 30s is around $72,000. So by your 40th birthday, the target should be $216,000 in investments. Now, do you know why I emphasize how important this is? If you hold $216,000 at age 40, even if you never add another cent, that money, at an average annual return of 8%, will exceed $2 million by age 67. But realistically speaking, you'll keep adding to it, won't you? So this money is just a starting point for you. Second critical milestone, by ages 38 to 39, your student loans and consumer debts should be completely zeroed out, mortgage excluded, because mortgage interest is generally low. Aggressively putting that money into the market is mathematically more advantageous than paying off a mortgage early. Credit cards, student loans, car loans, there is not a single valid reason to carry any of those. Third critical milestone, direct 20% of your income to investments and build an emergency fund. An emergency fund in your 30 seconds means something different than it did in your 20 seconds. Now other people, your spouse, your child or children, depend on you. If you experience a crisis, it won't only affect you, it will affect them too. The standard advice is to cover 3 to 6 months of expenses. But if you have dependents or an irregular income, I'd say consider extending it up to 12 months. This money should not be sitting under a mattress. Keep it in high-yield savings accounts. It's both safe and working for you a little just by sitting there. Look, a 20% savings rate on a $72,000 income is $14,400 per year. That money, growing with market returns over 10 years, fundamentally changes the rest of your life. And let me remind you, the trap of this decade is not financial, it's social pressure. Your friend's new car, your neighbor's new kitchen, your coworker's vacation photos, all of these trigger the fear of falling behind feeling inside you. And that feeling, more often than not, leads even smart people to make foolish decisions. Now you might be thinking, but everyone lives this way. Why should I do things differently? This is exactly where the paths diverge. If you live like everyone else, you'll retire like everyone else, constantly calculating how to make it to the end of the month and having to make sacrifices. Your 40s, the time not to waste the peak. As you enter your 40 seconds, you're likely earning the highest income of your life. And this decade, if used correctly, guarantees retirement. If misused, it erodes all the savings that came before. Research shows that peak earnings occur between ages 45 and 54. So this decade is when you have the most raw material at hand. But it's also the decade with the most competition. Children reach college age, your family starts expecting support from you, career transitions come, unexpected expenses pop up. The trap many people fall into at this point is, I'm finally making money. I can relax a little. That sentence is wealth's greatest enemy. Yes, you have the right to relax. But the difference between relaxing and squandering is the difference between retiring peacefully at 65 and calculating your budget every single month. First critical milestone by age 50, hold 6 to 7 times your annual income in investments. Average income in your 40 seconds is $71,600. So your target range should be $430,000 to $500,000. The maximum amount that can be contributed to a 401k or equivalent retirement account in 2026 is $23,500 per year. If you haven't hit this ceiling before, this decade is your last chance to catch up. Your money still has 15 to 25 years to grow. In my view, that's a long enough stretch of time, but not long enough to allow for extravagance. Second critical milestone, build a second income stream. Being dependent on a single income creates an unacceptable level of vulnerability in your 40s. Companies can downsize, industries can transform, unexpected health issues can arise. A position that looks secure to you at 40 can suddenly leave you in limbo at 52. That's why having a second income stream is a necessity in today's world. So what could a second income stream be? A rental property generating rental income, a portfolio large enough to pay dividends, consulting in your area of expertise, building a content channel in your field, all are possibilities. This second income channel doesn't need to be profitable right away. What matters is that you start today. A rental property purchased at 42 comes with 15 years of compounded savings and appreciation by the time you need it at 57. A step that looks small today turns into a major safety net tomorrow. And most importantly, dependence on a single source diminishes. Third critical milestone, do your estate planning. This topic is always pushed to later, but later never arrives when you actually need it. A will, life insurance to protect those you're responsible for, a power of attorney that kicks in if you become unable to make decisions yourself, a health directive, these must all exist. These documents aren't expensive, but when they're absent, the cost, both financial and emotional, can be severe. One more note, your 40s are when you start to feel the real importance of health insurance. An unexpected health issue can rapidly erode what you've spent years building. Review your insurance policies. Know exactly what your health, long-term care, and life insurance policies actually cover. Your 50s, no panic, but real seriousness. Your 50s change the psychology. At this age, retirement is no longer an abstract calculation. It's a concrete reality 10 to 15 years away. Research shows that Americans in their 50 seconds increase their savings rate more than at any other period in their lives. But the problem is this, that sense of urgency usually arrives late. The mathematics of compound interest is less forgiving with a 10-year horizon. But if you started on time, This decade is the time to accelerate. Another important topic in your 50s is health habits. Financial health and physical health become more tightly linked than ever during this period. A chronic illness, an unexpected surgery, or a prolonged treatment process can affect both your ability to work and your savings simultaneously. That's why not neglecting your health checkups in this period, reviewing your insurance coverage, and if necessary, researching long-term care insurance options should be considered a purely financial decision as well. Another trap people frequently fall into in their 50 seconds is children's college expenses. Many parents put their own retirement savings on hold to take on their children's tuition debt. This is an emotionally understandable decision, yes, but from a financial standpoint, it's quite costly. Your child can get student loans, find scholarships, and work to contribute to the budget, but there are no loans for your retirement. Discuss this reality as a parent with both your spouse and your children before college begins. First critical milestone, pay off your mortgage within this decade. A household that retires mortgage-free needs $20,000 less in annual income. This means two things. Either your portfolio survives much longer, or you don't need to grow it as large. Directing extra money to the mortgage after maxing out retirement accounts. This is one of the highest return moves you can make in this decade. Second critical milestone, by age 60, hold 10 to 12 times your annual income in investments. Average income in your 50 seconds is around $68,000. So your target by your 60th birthday should be $680,000 to $816,000. There are special catch-up contribution opportunities for those over 50. In 2026, this additional contribution for a 401k is $7,500 per year. If you've fallen behind, this mechanism exists exactly for you. Third critical milestone, do a retirement budget test. Most financial advisors won't tell you about this, but I will. Live on 50% to 60% of what you currently earn for 6 to 12 months. Most retirement projections are based on this ratio. Where do you feel friction? What's more expensive than you expected? What turns out to be completely unimportant? Gathering this information at 55 is infinitely more valuable than discovering it at 68. Because at 55, you still have time to correct course. The retirement budget test also tells you this: which expenses are tied to your working life and which are actually your own choices. Clothing, transportation, work lunches, most of these automatically drop in retirement. But social activities, health expenses, and travel may increase. You won't know these numbers until you run the test. Your 60 seconds, the transition from accumulating to distributing. For 40 years, the goal was accumulation. Now the goal has changed. It's no longer about saving correctly, it's about distributing correctly. Unfortunately, at this point too, most people make serious mistakes. First critical decision, when will you start Social Security? This decision is irreversible. If made incorrectly, it seriously impacts the rest of your life. If you start at 62, there can be a permanent reduction of up to 30% compared to full retirement age benefits. At 67, the standard benefit. If you wait until 70, there's an 8% annual increase for each year. If you're healthy and have bridge income, waiting until 70 is mathematically almost always a winner. This isn't a discount, it's a strategy. There's a practical way to calculate this, the break-even age calculation. The age at which the extra monthly payment you receive by waiting until 70 exceeds the cumulative total payments you would have collected if you'd started earlier is your break-even point. For most people, this point falls between ages 80 and 83. If your family has a history of longevity, waiting is a clear mathematical winner. Second critical decision, restructure the portfolio for the distribution phase. The investment logic that worked during the accumulation phase can destroy you during the distribution phase. At 65, 45% of your portfolio might be in equities and 55% in fixed income assets. This ratio protects you from being forced to sell during market downturns. But beware, completely abandoning growth is also dangerous. A portfolio that needs to finance 30 years of retirement must keep pace with inflation. Shifting entirely to fixed income triggers a different risk, the risk of running out of money. The balance is this: enough stability to endure without being forced to sell, and enough growth to keep pace with inflation. Another important topic is healthcare expenses. Research shows that a couple retiring at 65 will spend an average of more than $300,000 on healthcare throughout retirement. This is a figure that most people's expectations fall well short of. Consider this line item separately in your retirement calculations. Third critical decision: find meaning beyond the paycheck. This is also something most financial videos don't discuss, but I will. The greatest risk of retirement isn't money, it's meaninglessness. The research on this is clear. Financial security is necessary, but it's not sufficient. Losing your professional identity, your daily structure, your social connections, this measurably affects both mental and physical health. Depression increases, cognitive decline accelerates, mortality rises. You have something more valuable than money: 30 to 40 years of expertise, irreplaceable experience, real knowledge. This knowledge is immensely valuable to people who are where you were 20 years ago. A mentorship program, a podcast, a book. Those who thrive in retirement don't stop working. They simply change what they do and why they do it. The big picture, a map for each decade. Now let's put it all together. In your 20s, set up the system and automate savings. Eliminate high-interest debt. By age 30, have 1 to 2 times your annual income in investment accounts. In your 30 seconds, resist expansion. Life will channel every raise towards spending. By age 40, 3 times, 0 non-mortgage debt, 20% savings rate, emergency fund ready. In your 40 seconds, don't waste the peak. Maximize contributions, build a second income, complete your estate plan. By age 50, 6 to 7 times. In your 50 seconds, no panic but real seriousness. Mortgage is paid off, catch-up contributions kick in, retirement budget is tested. By age 60, 10 to 12 times. In your 60 seconds, optimize. Social Security timing, portfolio rebalancing, meaning beyond the paycheck. None of these milestones require an extraordinary income. Research on millionaire behavior shows again and again the vast majority of significant wealth is built on ordinary incomes through consistent behaviors sustained over decades. The average American earns $2 to $3 million over the course of their working life. The only thing that determines whether that money produces financial independence or financial stress is how much of it was consumed rather than saved. And I want to add this: walking this path can sometimes feel exhausting. I've been down these roads myself, and I understand you deeply. You might see those around you spending and feel restricted or inadequate, but know this: those who build wealth don't give something up, they invest in themselves first, and then spend what's left over. This small mental shift changes everything behaviorally. Your map already exists. The milestones are knowable, the math is simple. What determines which of those two people you'll be at age 65 is not luck, and it's not income. It's only whether you follow this decade-by-decade roadmap, and whether, whenever you fall behind, you come back to it. And don't forget this: up until now, nobody, or very few people, have told you these things. Your family may not know, or even if they do, they may have thought they'll figure it out somehow and said nothing. Schools, unfortunately, don't teach financial literacy either. The system we're in won't tell you either. But now you know. And knowing is the first step towards starting. Finally, I want to say this: this journey is not a race, and you are not competing with anyone. It's enough to be in a better place than you were last year. Small but consistent steps are always more valuable than large but inconsistent moves. Financial freedom doesn't come all at once. It comes from small, correct decisions made every month, accumulating over decades. Patience is the most powerful weapon in this game. Feel free to write the financial topics you're curious about in the comments. As your Uncle Sammy, it would be a great pleasure for me to explain them to you. See you in the next video. Take very good care of yourselves.